waiters and waitresses of Reddit. What's the most convoluted order you've ever taken? Story 1. I previously worked at a wing shop. Guy calls and asks for 24-mile traditional wings. He then proceeds to ask for them to be fried. Twice, no big deal. That's pretty common. He also wants them covered in Mexican shredded cheese, put in the microwave for 30 seconds, drizzled with mayonnaise, and wants a side of fries placed on the wings rather than in a separate container. Finally, he requested to have pickle juice squeezed lightly across the top of everything. Obviously, all the waiters, cooks, and waitresses thought this was disgusting, but we had never smelled something so amazing come from the kitchen in our lives. Did not taste as pleasant as it smelled, and it forgot the best part. He demanded the wings be in a pool of mild sauce, which was just short of overflowing the container. Story 2. Dude in front of me in line ordered iced coffee heated up in the microwave. Barista replies, "You mean hot coffee?" To which he replies, "I don't know. When I'm at home, I make my coffee the night before and put it in the fridge and then microwave it the next morning." Story 3. Coffee frappuccino. Half-half instead of milk. Coffee filled up to 25 ths of the cup before blending. Light ice, 2 shots espresso. Shake ingredients, then blend it 3 times. Use half the bottle of caramel drizzle on the sides of the cup before pouring the drink in. Extra whipped cream. Then add more caramel drizzle to the top. This woman came in every day, watched you make her drink, and would force you to remake it over and over until she was satisfied. She once returned the drink for not having enough caramel drizzle. As I was remaking it, the cap blew off of the drizzle bottle, and nearly the entire contents oozed into the cup. It being Frappuccino happy hour, I said it and gave it to her like that. She said it was the best she's ever tasted. The entire store absolutely loathed Frappuccinos. Story 4. Some confusion arose once because a customer wanted a plain cheeseburger, brought a cheeseburger with no toppings or condiments. She was very upset. Turns out she wanted a hamburger. Story 5. Not necessarily a convoluted order, but I think this still fits here. I work at a from-scratch Italian restaurant. Had a guy come in with his wife and sit at the bar on a busy Saturday night. He informed me he was following the TB12 diet from Tom Brady's new diet and exercise book and had very strict dietary restrictions because of this. He sent me back and forth to the kitchen no less than 7 times to verify with the chef that his dinner order would have no iodized salt, sugar, olive oil, gluten, peppers, or tomatoes. He ended up with a plain piece of fish and some vegetables. We were getting slammed, but I still tried to keep my patience and accommodate the guy the best I could. Even though doing so was putting me in the weeds after dinner, I asked if they would like anything else, and don't you know this guy orders himself a bread pudding very much filled with forbidden gluten and sugar and eats the whole thing. He just goes, "Well, I mean, you have to allow yourself a treat now," and then I died a little more inside. Story 6. I serve food at a country club, so I deal entirely with people that have more wealth than ill probably ever had. A lot of these people are really nice and are actually friendly. However, many are also very snobby, high maintenance, and just rude. One night, I had a table. It was 2 couples on a double date, and both couple were less than friendly. One woman ordered a salmon. I can't remember the rest, because this one woman was the bane of my existence. I serve them entrees and let them eat for a while before I do the typical "how's everyone doing?" 9 times out of 10, everyone just says everything is fine and just want me to leave so they can eat. Not this lady. She calls me over and tells me she didn't think I gave her salmon. Looking at her plate, I can see the fish is pink and is very, very clearly salmon. I've served the salmon hundreds of times. She insists I go ask the kitchen what fish it was. Of course it's salmon, which I return and tell her politely that it is indeed salmon. She gets angry and tells me how it doesn't taste like any salmon she ever had, and that she had had salmon many times, and that what I serve her wasn't salmon. After getting more and more angry about not having salmon, she looks me dead in the eyes and says this tastes like turtle. I honestly didn't know how to react, so I just asked if she was sure, and she says, "Yes, I actually like it, but it isn't salmon." I'm still just blown away by this woman. She got so angry with me about this mix-up. We don't serve turtle. I don't know anywhere that does. And she liked it. I don't understand these people's lives. Story 7. A kid asked me for a cheeseburger, but cheese on only half the burger. So, a half hamburger, half cheeseburger. The parents were a little embarrassed and said I didn't have to humor him, but I liked the cut of his jib. This kid knew what he wanted. I walked the order back to the cook, explained the situation, and the whole kitchen got on board. Story 8. Yeah. Can I have a Reuben sandwich but with turkey instead of corned beef? No cheese, and number 1000 Island, can you do mayo instead? And can I get that on sourdough? Oh, and add stone ground mustard too, please. Of course, would you still like sauerkraut and terry bin? Story 9. A half rack of ribs, no sauce. Well done. Microwaved after taking it off the grill for 5 minutes. 8 sides of Thousand Island dressing to dip it in. Broccoli, no butter, triple steamed. A sweet potato with 4 sides of sour cream. a water with no ice, and then 2 cups of ice. Then 15 minutes later decided he wanted another half rack of ribs the same way. This was a year ago, but I will never forget because he snapped at me a ton of times while I was talking to other customers. Then he had the nerve to complain to my manager because his rolls came late, but they had just been popped into the oven and were baking when he ordered them. That guy am no waiter, but I do work the food line at my restaurant. The weirdest thing I've seen was a lettuce wrap taco with only lettuce in it. A lettuce wrap is a taco shell that's made of lettuce. Story 10, Philly cheesesteak sandwich. No cheese, no peppers, no condiments, no bread, no side of fries. She wanted to pay $16 for shredded beef with onions. Story 11, my daughter was just old enough to go through a buffet alone. She wanted a slice of roast beef and heard people ahead of her ask for medium. She thought I'm smaller than them, so I don't need a big piece. The guy slicing off portions asked her how she wanted her beef, so she said small. He just silently gave her a small piece of medium done roast beef. Ah, thanks for the gold. Story 12, I didn't really mind this order, but it was very odd and multiple managers came to ask me about it after I put it in and laugh when I showed them. I do all of the Grubhub orders at a restaurant, and somebody simply ordered 4 lemonades. That's it. For $2.50 each plus the delivery fee, and the to-go drinks aren't very big. And it's just your run-of-the-mill lemonade. I really wish I got to deliver the drinks to the person to see what was up with that. Story 13, I brought my own tea bag. Can I just have some hot water, please? 5 minutes later, can I have a lemon wedge, please? 2 minutes later, can I have some honey? Story 14, I used to work at a burrito joint. Somebody ordered a burrito with bean juice, but no beans. Edit photo of the ticket. Story 15, not necessarily convoluted, but worked in an Indian restaurant in the UK with a kitchen staff of all Indian people, and lots of people would come in and pretty much detail how exactly they wanted their curry cooked. Like, this is not a jalfrezi upon being presented with their dish, and then explaining to the manager how it should be cooked. I feel like I should point out these were obviously non-Indian folks. I had a guy order chicken korma, but make it spicy. After much discussion, the chef agreed to put some chili into it, knowing well that the whole dish would be weird. Story 16, not a waiter, but this guy once ordered spaghetti and meatballs at a restaurant I was a cook for, except he wanted French fries instead of spaghetti noodles. Story 17, I always feel bad for the waitress when out to dinner with my mother-in-law. I swear, just ordering a water with ice ends up being difficult. Oh, your omelets have 3 eggs. Can you make mine with 1.5? No yolk. Just replace the 1. 5 yolks with some extra egg white. Story 18, a man with a hangover swore blind that the best cure for said hangover was raw steak. So he ordered raw steak, and I served him a raw steak, and then watched on as he ate that raw steak like a famished velociraptor rex. Story 19, last restaurant I worked in, these 2 people would come in, husband and wife couple. They'd order 2 burgers, each dressed the way the other one was supposed to be. 1 no bun, 1 with extra onion rings on top, a certain type of fries that needed to be dropped for exactly 3 minutes 45 seconds. The type of fries varied. We had like 12 types of fries one day. We had a new server who stoically forgot to place their order, then forgot what type of fries after they were already an hour late in getting their food. So I thought, no biggie, you'll give them the standard fries and tell the server to figure out what they want. So I sent out the food. It's like 10 minutes to close when suddenly my kitchen door bursts open and I get called, and there's fries tossed in my face, and this lady storms out. Still made their food at least 3 times a week. Dick's not a waiter. Eating in an Indian restaurant, I overheard a woman ordering nearby who wanted a curry but steamed veggies. No oil, no salt, no rice, curry sauce on the side. I have no idea what the kitchen actually made for her. Story 20, we called it the Corey special because this guy would come in every week and get the same exact thing. Large yum and greens vegan sub avocado, add cabbage and carrots 12 sauce sub nori, add tempeh, no chips sub crispy noodles on a plate, half rice sub greens. He was a super nice guy though, so nobody really minded that he had the order from. Story 21, my dad's friend orders a Reuben sandwich with white bread not rye, American cheese not Swiss, and for the love of God skip the Thousand Island dressing and sauerkraut. Basically, he is asking for a grilled cheese. Edit, sometimes he asks for ham instead of corned beef, but usually no meat at all. Story 22, I once had a woman order her eggs fried hard, scrambled hard. And when I asked if she wanted her eggs fried or scrambled, as they are 2 completely different ways of making eggs, she had no idea what I was talking about, and kept repeating, fried hard, scrambled hard. It took some pressing from both myself and her group to figure out what she wanted. I believe it was scrambled hard. She kept saying that she has just always ordered fried hard, scrambled hard, and didn't understand our confusion. Story 23, I run on a bakery. We had a cupcake order come in where every one of the dozen cupcakes we made were a different flavor. We don't sell cupcakes individually either, and unfortunately for us, there's nothing on our website that says we can't do it. It was such a pain in the eye. I still remember the flavors: Oreo, car bomb, Neapolitan, lemon with cream cheese, passion fruit with lemon, poppy seed with lemon, Genoise with dark chocolate, carrot, blue velvet, banana with chocolate, hazelnut with chocolate, and almond with raspberry filling. Our order form changed that day, making half a dozen, the smallest number of cupcakes you could order with one flavor. Story 24, they'll take a double triple bossy deluxe on a raft for buy 4 animal style, extra shingles with a shimmy and a squeeze light axle grease, make it cry, burn it, and let it swim. Story 25, I worked at a fish and chip shop. Old lady calls, says she want 2 fish bites and 6 chips. I say $6 and she says number 6 chips. I say 6 pieces of chips and she says yes. She showed up and I asked her about the 6 chips and she says it's because she's old, she can't eat lots. I ended up giving her 10 chips. Story 26, this doesn't exactly fit, but it was kind of mind-boggling, so I had to share. I came into a shift where the previous server already had a full section. No problem. You just explain to the guests that you're taking over, and to let you know if they need anything. Everything is great. I have a 2 top mom and daughter. The previous server had already taken the order and put it in, so I was basically there to finish up the table. Their meals are good. They're enjoying everything, etc. Time to give her the check, and she goes, for future reference, if someone tells you they're low-carb G, you don't give them dates and craisins in their salad. WTF? The menu is literally right there, and it says the salad comes with those things. Granted, I didn't take the order and still apologize to her. But Jesus, if you're following a diet, it's your responsibility to be mindful for what you put into your body. Story 27, used to work as a waiter over the summer, second day on the job. A group of 20 arrived who had all pre-ordered their meals a month ago for the booking, and no one could remember what they ordered by some kind of cosmic punishment. I was the only waiter they sent to the group. Story 28, I am a waiter at a retirement community, and once an old man asked for testicles. I asked what kind, no response. Told him we don't offer testicles of any kind. He said he wanted testicles, he didn't get testicles. Story 29, grilled salmon, but poached, very well done. No spices, no seasoning, no oil. Replace the vegetables and rice by salad. No dressing, no tomatoes or carrots, and replace the appetizer and dessert by bowl of fruits. This guy comes in every week, acts entitled as all, and leave 5 to 10 tip. I love my job, but sometimes it stinks. Story 30, there's a lady that comes into my work and orders very specific things with a very soft voice. We make it a point to always write it down and read it back to her. Then when she gets her food, she'll inevitably be like, no, I didn't order X, I want a Y. She comes in every single morning, basically. And after complaining, she'll leave a tip of like 50 cents. It's gotten to the point where I've torn her order out of my notepad, set it in front of her, had her read the entire thing out loud. And then she still got upset. I've started just giving her random food since then. The result is pretty much the same. Management doesn't care because she pays. I don't care because she's see-through, and she's now occasionally getting sliced tomatoes and refried beans for breakfast. It's not exactly convoluted, I guess, but she takes 3 minutes out of my day occasionally. On the off chance that she's really just got a convoluted order and everything I know is wrong, I don't care her. Story 31, I'm not a server. But when I was a kid, my mom would often do crazy things like go through the drive-thru at McDonald's and ask the people inside to open a can of tuna for her. She was on a weird self-imposed diet. Then when they opened the can of tuna, she would complain that they didn't drain the water correctly. I was just a kid, but I would basically die from embarrassment in the back seat. Story 32, one customer, 2 orders. The first would be paid by card, a cheese and ham toast tie with a cup of tea. The ham had to be taken out of the toast tie and put in a separate bag, and the toast tie had to be cut into quarters and delivered to their table. We don't do that. The second part was paid by cash and was a tandoori chicken baguette cut in half, delivered in 2 separate bags and a long black with milk and water on the side. Again, we don't do that. Greg's is a tiresome job, and customers like that only make it worse. Story 33, we have this lady come in every Tuesday, and she sits at the bar. Wait, not sit, she stand the entire time. She wanted an almost raw salmon slathered in this cherry chipotle glaze that we have with extra everything that the bowl comes with: quinoa, mushrooms, seasoned tomatoes, among other veggies, an extra bowl of the glaze that has to be heated up, and sriracha. We don't offer sriracha as a condiment, but we keep large bottles of it on the prep line to use as a mix for sauces. The bartenders just started keeping the sriracha behind the bar, just for her. LOL. I dubbed her Salmon Lady. Story 34, I've posted this before, but I think it fits here too, even though it's more ignorant than convoluted. I worked at a Japanese restaurant for a while, and we had this thing called volcano roll, and it cost $7.25. A California roll there cost $3.75. The volcano roll was a Cali roll cut into the shape of triangle and topped with spicy mayo that has been heated up with about 10 worth of fish, literally just a few bits. You're much better off ordering a Cali roll and paying 50 extra for spicy mayo on the side and asking them to heat it up. I had one guy come in with a girl, and he ordered a couple of regular rolls like spicy tuna and yellowtail, along with a volcano roll. When served in the restaurant, unless they ask us, we would put the sauce on top, so it looked nice like a volcano. When I brought that roll over, he was like, "Oh, I didn't know you guys put the sauce on. I've only gotten it for pickup, and the sauce is always on the side. I don't really like it. Could you bring me one without it?" I tried not to laugh and said sure. I went back, and the sushi chef asked what was wrong. I told him that he didn't like the sauce and want one without it. He laughed and said, all right. So he took a Cali roll, cut it up, and put it on the plate. I brought it back to the guy, and he was super pumped. Basically, this guy paid $7.25 for a roll that would have cost him $3.75, and me and the sushi chef got to split a free volcano roll. Normally, I would have just told him about it, but the dude was being so arrogant the entire time. I'm guessing to act like he was a sushi expert to impress the girl he was with. Story 35, I'm not a waiter or anything, but I had a friend who would always order a glass of water with no ice, with some extra lemon slices, then he'd start making free lemonade at the table. Sometimes there weren't sugar packets at the table already, and I'd die inside when he asked the waiter for sugar packets. By the time we got our food, his warm lemonade was ready, at which point Head asked for a glass of ice. Story 36, the order itself wasn't particularly difficult, but this lady wanted weak tea like hot water that has a tea bag put in for a very short amount of time. Simple enough, we're on the same page, right? Problem was she didn't want me to bring her the hot water and the tea bag. She wanted me to make it for her and do so perfectly. It took like 6 or 7 tries before she was like, now, that is some good weak tea. The guy she was eating with was covering his face in shame of being seen with this woman. I want to get as far away from her as possible since her drink order was so annoying. I was afraid of what her food order would be like. Thankfully, she didn't ask for anything special in that department, but I was half expecting to have to heat her food to a very specific temperature or something along those lines. Story 37, we had this chicken ragu thing that was pretty good and spicy. Well, one day, an older woman comes in and order it without the corn, tomato, onion, garlic, any other vegetables, no sauce, and chicken on the side with butter. She got buttery rice and chicken. Like $13 despite the fact I told her she could order a side of both of the same portion for like $8 total. But by God, she was dead set on that ragu. Story 38, not so much convoluted as stupid. Our wings were breaded, and he didn't seem to read that part on the menu. He sent them back because of the extra carbs and ordered a burger no bun with a side of fries. Story 39, a medium rare steak with no blood, was sent back twice before we gave him a well-done steak. He said it was the best steak he ever had in his life. He also didn't tip. Story 40, my time to shine. I worked at a country club as a bartender and had been there for years, so they would have me go on the floor to train new staff. I was training this girl that was all of 18, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, her first serving job. She was shadowing me when a group of middle-aged women that were known to be persnickety sat down. I walk over to them, greet Mrs. Murphy and Company by name, and warmly attempt to take a drink order. Per protocol, I go clockwise around the table, taking their unsweetened iced teas, 2 lemons, and Diet Cola. Make sure it's diet and fasting. All the while the last of their party keeps talking over them, saying on a plate, on a plate, on a plate. I genuinely was trying to show my trainee how we were strictly instructed to introduce service, and this woman was repeating her diluted mantra over all of her friends' drink requests. When I arrive at her, she just says, I want a, on a plate, like in the... When I inform her we have turkey, duck, chicken, and other poultry that day, she screamed, on a plate. I smiled, turned on my heel, and rang in a chicken sandwich. No bread, lettuce, or tomato, and no side. I promptly called over my manager and gave my 2 weeks. You Mrs. Warda, really sweaty man, ordered milk steak boiled over hard, and a side of our finest jelly beans raw. Story 41, worked at a burger place in Southern California. Had a guy come in once a week and order a single cooked patty. No seasoning, no cheese, no bread, no sauce, no condiments. The first time he did it, I assumed he had a dog on the patio, so I went to check on him code for see the dog, and found him making his own burger. Like brought his own sauce, bread, cheese, everything, just wanted our patty. It was very, very strange. Story 42, I can't even tell you, because almost every customer does this. The orders aren't the problem, though it's the checks. People always around with the checks, trying to split it, arguing about who will pay, whatever. Try working a 20 top for 2 hours, with idiots moving around constantly, only for them to start splitting individual items into thirds. Story 43, not convoluted, but I once had a guy order a pizza with no crust. Okay, like crust cut off, no, like no bread at all. What we ended up taking a takeout container, putting in sauce, cheese, and pepperoni, heating it up, and they ate it with a spoon. It still haunts me. Story 44, story from the other side of the situation. One time when I was 10 in Disneyland with my parents, I panicked and ordered a cheeseburger without cheese because I had a crush on the waiter. Story 45, just weird, not so convoluted. Had a guy come through my drive-thru a few years ago asking for sweet tea. Cut in half. Usually this means half sweet tea, half lemonade. He wanted half tea, half icy fruit punch. The funny part was that when he got up to the window, he was already leaning out of his window begging me to hear him out. He knows it sounds weird, but apparently he had tried mixing tea with everything else on the menu because lemonade just wasn't good enough, and high C was the only thing that really did it for him. Edit cut in half usually means half sweet, half unsweet. Most people specify that they want it cut with lemonade. Story 46, 12 German guys spread out between 3 tables. Perfectly pleasant. Though language a bit of a barrier, they all ordered gammon and chips, cod and chips, burger and chips, etc., and a low-alcohol lager each. It was a roadside restaurant, so far so good. Then for the next hour or so, they would call me over and order another lager here, another there, a third for this chap. Like I think it had something like 0 for alcohol, and they were trying to make it up to the level of a normal pint. Then having eaten their meals, they wanted the same again. Only this time one guy wanted the cod, and the other wanted the chips on a separate plate. Ditto the gammon, then desserts, and about half of them had a second dessert. Then they wanted to pay separately and not split the bill 12 ways. They wanted to pay for exactly what each of them had had. I left the manager with them at the till. Luckily, she spoke German. Story 47, not a waiter, but a barista at a Starbucks. Formerly, here are a few gems cold brew coffee, but heated up in a microwave. A latte that isn't too milky. Edit a latte is literally a cup of milk with 1 to 2 shots of espresso. An Americano that doesn't have very much water. Edit an Americano is a cup of water with a few shots of espresso, a soy matcha green tea latte. Because I am allergic to dairy, if you give it to me, I will die, with whipped cream on top. No, she would not budge on the whipped cream, and got mad when I charged extra for the soy, a dry cappuccino with no foam. A frappuccino with no ice. A frap is iced coffee sugar-based milk flavors. So it ended up being a liquid, goopy mess, and the customer was pissed, however. This one takes the cake. Literally a Vini Mocha Frappuccino with an extra ice cube. 1 less pump of coffee, half coconut milk and half almond milk, 5 extra pumps of mocha, and 7 pumps of hazelnut. 3 shots of espresso poured on top, as well as an extra large helping of whipped cream, and put it in a Trina cup. Me, is that it? Oh, I almost forgot. Please blend in this slice of cake. Hand me a very tall slice of German chocolate cake from the bakery next door. Story 48, had a guy call and order a pizza. When I told him how much it was going to be with the delivery fee, he said, well, I don't have any money, but it'll get you really baked and give you a few lines cocaine. I said, okay. It was the early 80s, and I did get higher than a kite for pizza. Well, I'm not a server, but I do work in a kitchen. The most convoluted order is my own. The thing is, it's pretty simple for me to make, but when somebody else tries, it apparently becomes a burden. Most of KY coworkers either leave and buy food somewhere else on their break, or they have the kitchen staff make them something. I have always made my own food for my lunch-dinner break. I like my food prepared a certain way, and I'll admit, it is a somewhat complicated recipe, very somewhat. I'm not making soufflés or anything crazy like that. One of my coworkers asked why I made my food instead of having the kitchen staff do it, and I explained that it's a bit complicated, so it's easier if I do it myself. They wanted to give it a go, so when I clocked out, I went to the register and gave them my order. Take a sauce cup and fill it half with mayonnaise. Add a squirt of barbecue sauce, 3 dots of mustard, a packet of salt, 4 packets of pepper, and cover the rest with Cajun seasoning. Mix until the sauce is thick and orange. Put a thin layer of the sauce on 2 buns, and put those sauce side down on the grill, like a grilled cheese. Scoop the rest of the sauce into an aluminum bowl, add a squirt of a 1, and warm it on the bread grill. While the buns are grilling, dice jalapenos, green peppers, and tomatoes, and throw them on the front of the grill with a cap of vinegar and a squirt of Frank's Red Hot sauce. This is my grill top salsa. 40 seconds should make the peppers and tomatoes dull in color and tender to the touch. Move them to the back of the grill, add a handful of diced onions, and sprinkle a packet of salt and pepper. When the buns are dark and crispy, remove them from the grill and place on a sheet of foil. Dress all the way, 4 pickles, 1 big tomato. Sub the mushrooms with raw onions. Swing the grill top salsa to the bottom bun. Add 2 strips of bacon, a layer of unsalted fries, then evenly pour the sauce from before all over the fries. Slap a slice of cheese, wrap the whole sandwich in foil, then set on top of the fried dump for 1 minute, 30 seconds each side. They never asked to make my food again. Story 49, reading all the comments. I sometimes feel bad when I order at In-N-Out 2 cheeseburgers, no lettuce, extra tomato, chopped chilies, grilled onion, extra spread, and then animal-style fries, fries well done. Story 50, I used to work at a nicer close to fine dining, but not quite restaurant, and I was working the lunch shift one day. I had these two older ladies come in to celebrate one of their birthdays, and a non-birthday girl informs me that she's vegan. Totally fine. We had a separate vegan menu printed, so it was an easy request to fulfill. The problem was she didn't want to order anything off the vegan menu, and instead wanted to customize everything they ordered. They shared a bunch of small things to be vegan. Fine, whatever. So dessert was these little shot glass style things that came in a bunch of different varieties, and the vegan one was all fruit. I'm waiting for these ladies to pick their dessert, and the vegan orders coffee. And I say black, right? And she responds, no with cream please, and then proceeds to pick a chocolate, cream-filled dessert. I must have looked at her funny because she just sort of laughed and said something along the lines of how she wasn't actually vegan and makes exceptions for things like dessert and milk in her coffee. Story 51 had a mom call about dietary restrictions. Her son has no gluten, no sugar, no dairy. Where I was working is a small farm-to-table place, but sure, we will make something for him. He had bread pudding for dessert. Story 52, not a waitress, but at Jimmy John's, I had an order for a veggie club has literally 8 slices of cheese, which is bad enough. An extra of literally every veggie we had. Couldn't even close the thing. Story 53, I had a woman once come up and scream at me in front of Full House because I recommended our club sandwich to her husband, and he could not finish the sandwich. She stated that I emasculated him and that they had been coming to our business for a long time, and she could not believe he was treated that way. I know that she was trying to get me to comp the sandwich, but I refused and told her that was why we offered to box food up. They never came back. I rarely, if ever, have been rude to a customer, and deep down it bothered me that I was the reason they didn't come back. But at some point you have to take a stand from being taken advantage of. Story 54 worked at a steakhouse very similar to Texas Roadhouse. I had someone order a salad without lettuce. They just wanted a plate with all the different toppings around the edges, dressing, carrots, cheese, etc. Not as crazy as others, but still it blew my mind. Story 55, chicken and dumplings with 3 sides of mashed potatoes with no gravy. Instead of gravy, he requested the chicken and dumplings be drenched over the potatoes. Story 56, I was a cook for years, but my favorite was this. A waitress ordered a burger and said the customer wanted it between rare and medium. So I said, so they want medium rare. She went, no, they want it between rare and medium, to which a 2-minute discussion between her, another cook, and myself about the fact medium rare is between rare and medium. Story 57, I don't waitress, but I do take orders from people who want seafood steamed at my store. I work the seafood counter at a grocery store. Weekend bring the drunks out. They always take about half an hour to figure out what they want, and it always ends up being pricey. Last weekend, an intoxicated woman riding one of those scooters meant for the disabled took the cake. She had 2 toddler-sized kids in a scooter basket and a friend walking alongside her. She had me weigh out portions of almost everything in our case. She finally settled on 2 crab legs. She wanted them seasoned and steamed. She couldn't decide what seasoning, so told me to just mix them all and throw it in there. We have Creole, Old Bay, lemon pepper, and Slappy Mama. Her ticket came to $99, as these giant crab legs are about 36 pounds. She waited around while I prepared her order. When it was done and packaged, she stood up from her scooter and wobbled toward me to take her package. She said, that smell funky. I don't want it no more. And she rode off into the night, leaving behind the vapor of cheap whiskey. Story 58, I think I posted about this years ago, but I worked at a TGI Fridays and waited on some insane woman. She told me she wanted the Parmesan shrimp steak. This was a popular advertised item at Applebee's at the time. I told her that we don't have that, but if she really wants it, there's an Applebee's down the street. She asked if we had anything like that. I told her we have steak and we have grilled shrimp skewers. I told her we didn't have any type of cream sauce and the food wouldn't be exactly like Applebee's. She says fine and orders that. I think everything is fine until the food is brought to her. And I kid you not. Her face goes white, and she looks at me like I just murdered her firstborn. She starts yelling how it's not the Parmesan shrimp steak, that the shrimp were on the side of the plate and not on the steak. She also threw a fit that it was missing the cream sauce, which I explicitly told her wouldn't be included. She probably ended up getting the food comped or some, since that's how those corporate chain places operate. She ate the whole thing anyway. You could have walked to Applebee's from her table, so either she was insane or just wanted free food. I saw more people get crazy upset about their 10 plate of garbage chain food than you would ever imagine. TLDR woman orders an Applebee's menu item at a TGI Fridays. When it wasn't exactly the same, she lost her mind. Story 59, some stupid came in and wanted a salad. By salad, I mean every single ingredient of the salad in a separate dish. 15 ingredients, all in separate ramekins and dishes. She tipped like 2, obviously.